Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and today we talk about how Taijuan Walker surprised everybody, maybe even himself.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing Philly sports talk radio for over 5 years now. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that you're rating and reviewing if you're listening to this in podcast form. If you're checking us out on the YouTube, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Phillies. It'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. It's free. It's easy. It also really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies when you hit that subscribe button. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. You're going to want our friends from Game Time for this weekend because the Phillies are welcoming the Los Angeles Dodgers. It is a heavyweight early season matchup. We are going to get into that plenty on today's show. But we got to start with the Phils sweeping out the Rockies, their first sweep of the year, their second series win. And we're also going to talk in between those two topics about who needs to heat up for the Phillies. A lot of hot bats, a lot of hot arms. Who needs to get things going as we head into the third series of the year and one of the biggest of the early season schedule. But I would be remiss if I did not lead off this episode with a conversation about the one Taijuan Walker. He got so much flack over the offseason from everybody, and deservedly so. I'm not asking you to apologize to Taijuan Walker. I'm not saying we should not have been critical of his performance last year and of the Phillies' decision to keep him around long enough that he worked his way back onto this roster due to injuries to Ranger Suarez and guys in the bullpen. But what I will say is when there's a player wearing this jersey that if you're watching on the YouTube, I have on. I'm wearing the powder blues that the Phils wore yesterday. When a player steps on to a baseball field wearing the Philadelphia Phillies uniform, I am always rooting for that player to be successful because I want to see the Philadelphia Phillies win baseball games. I'm a fan of the team, right? I'm just lucky that I get to do this for a living, but I'd be watching every game even if I didn't do this for a living. And that's why I'm not rooting for the failure of Taijuan Walker. And I'm not saying anyone out there is doing that. I do think sometimes fans will cut off their nose to spite their face. And that leads to you rooting against players on your team that, if they play well, would be a good thing for your fandom. I never understand that. But I say all of that to say this. Taijuan Walker deserves endless credit for what he was able to do yesterday. I don't care that it was the Colorado Rockies. I don't care that he only had 4 strikeouts. Everybody in Philadelphia was assuming that Taijuan Walker was going to go out and soil himself in his opportunity to start because that's what we saw all year last year. And that's what we saw in the back half of spring training. There was nobody really with faith that Taijuan Walker was going to go out there and give you the performance that he did, myself included. I was worried about that start, but Walker goes out. He went 6 innings. He struck out 4. He walked 1. He allowed 3 hits, no runs. 6 shutout innings for Taijuan Walker. Now, this says 2 things. 1, it says credit to Taijuan Walker for going out there and being efficient, throwing strikes with better stuff than we've seen from him in the past year or so. It says all of that about him being prepared. He hadn't thrown since, there was a week left in spring training. That's a lot of time between where they were and where we are now, that he had to wait and throw bullpens and not see live batters and everything like that. He was ready for his moment in this instance, and that's a great thing. Now, it also says the Colorado Rockies are a terrible baseball team, and that's part of the reason the Phillies found their way to the sweep. Still, you got to beat the bad teams. Listen, I'm pretty sure the Pirates swept the Dodgers last year. I know the Pirates are catching a stray right now on that, but my point is, in baseball, bad teams win series all the time. Bad teams win games all the time. Even the worst teams are going to win 40, 50, 60 times. But the Phillies took care of business. They have won 5 of their first 6 games, and that's why it sets up so well for them to take on the Dodgers. Kyle Schwarber went yard again yesterday. An absolute nuke by the way. Like if you watched it on TV, it looked like the ball disintegrated. I don't know if it was bad camera work or whatever, but it was a high fastball. He went up the ladder and got it. The camera turns to the outfield, and you're like, where's the ball? And the camera guy's like, where's the ball? And the fans are like, where's the ball? 444, the listed distance on that one. That's what we call a big boy homer, ladies and gentlemen. But really, the big story of this game is the fact that the Phillies did not score much offensively and still were able to find a win because Taijuan Walker held them there. He went 6 shutout innings, and that is something that, man, I don't know how much you could have won on FanDuel, our friends over at FanDuel, if you had bet that exact line for Taijuan Walker, but it wouldn't have been minus money, I'll tell you what. So when a guy that I have been very, very critical of and said should not be on this team, and I've prepared Philadelphia Phillies fans for what I've called Taijuan Walker Armageddon leading into this season, the fact that he was going to be on this roster, for him to go out and on opening day during introductions, he gets booed by the fan base. And I'll be honest, I don't have an issue with that. If I was not in the press box, I probably would have been among the crowd booing him because he hasn't been good. He's getting paid a lot of money by the Phillies, and that's part of the reason they can't move the contract. So everything up until yesterday for Taijuan Walker, I think, was handled relatively fairly. There's always fans that go too far. But I think it was fair, the reaction that the fans have given Taijuan Walker to this point, which is why we now have to be fair to say, damn, that dude went out and shoved yesterday, especially for what we were expecting from what you were getting in that spot. Now, here's where we need to take the step back, because sometimes the seesaw of fan approval can shift too quickly in the opposite direction. If you've ever been on a seesaw that shifts too quickly, either you are flying into the air, or if you're a guy, you're hitting a part of your body that you don't want to be hitting with a long metal bar like that. So let's try and balance everything out. Taijuan Walker's probably going to make one more start before Ranger Suarez is back and available. It'll most likely be against the Atlanta Braves, started this coming week when the Phillies traveled down to Atlanta to face the still winless Atlanta Braves. I'm not expecting that same performance out of him. I'm not expecting him to get any more opportunities because of this. This is not a situation where it's like, oh, can he be a starter for this team? Do you think about Ranger Suarez in the bullpen because he's gone to the bullpen? No. And before you call me crazy for that, we had people texting us on our text line at 97.5 The Fanatic this morning saying, move Ranger to the bullpen, start Taijuan Walker. So that's crazy. But he deserves all the credit in the world. It's not even the physical of it, right? Remember, Taijuan Walker had and I know people don't look at wins as like this ultimate pitcher stat like we used to, but he had a 15-win season for the Philadelphia Phillies just 2 years ago. It's not like this guy has not been able to ever pitch at the major league level. The reason he got the contract is because when he was with the Mets, he was a solid arm. He just hasn't shown that with the Philadelphia Phillies over the past year and change. So it's not that the guy is flat out terrible, stinks, should never be at the major league level, get rid of him. He should be pitching in single A or a men's league somewhere. No, he still has a major league resume. It's very nice to see that in a spot where I think a lot of pitchers would have folded, a lot of pitchers would have mentally shut down, a lot of people would have mentally shut down. The whole city of Philadelphia, the team the fan base that's supposed to be rooting for you is anti you, don't want you on the team, don't want you on the mound, don't want to see your number in your face anymore, right? That's where a lot of people were with Taijuan Walker, to go out and say, okay, I've got a chance to do something. I'm going to fight for these guys in the clubhouse, and I'm going to fight for myself, and to deliver that performance. It may sound like I'm being overly dramatic for a 5th game of the year or 6th game of the year win over the lowly Colorado Rockies. But with what Taijuan Walker has been through over the past 6 months, 7 months here in Philadelphia, let's add to that and go into last season. And most of last season, he was really, really rough. For him to go out and deliver that type of start for this team, a lot of us did not think it was possible because that's how bad it's been. So credit to him. He deserves all the credit in the world. Bullpen was very good. The pitching for the Phillies was awesome yesterday. It was. The offense was quiet. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the Dodgers series and why that's going to be something that I'm very, very focused on. We're also going to talk about it coming up next when I get into who needs to heat up for the Phillies, bats and arms. But bullpen was good. Schwarber was good. JT, swing looks like it's coming around a little bit for him. And Mundo Sosa not in the lineup by Rob Thompson. I don't love it because he's red hot. I think you got to get him in the lineup again soon. So that was one thing I didn't like pregame, that he was not finding a way to get Sosa in the lineup. But listen, I get it. I ran through it on yesterday's episode, how there's so many talented players in this infield that start. It's very hard to get Edmundo Sosa on the field consistently. But, man, the story of this game starts and ends with the start that you got from Taijuan Walker that nobody was expecting, not just to eat innings and get through 6, but to go shutout, to get the win, and to say, hey, I know what the past has been. For the present, yesterday, he was good enough that the Philadelphia Phillies won a ball game. We should not take that for granted. We should also not overreact to it in a positive way. It is what it is. He gave you a great start. Round of applause for Taijuan Walker, all right? Big fan of what he did yesterday. Let's hope that he's got another one of those starts in him. And then Ranger, come on back, because Ranger can do that in his sleep. But credit to Taijuan Walker, credit to the Phillies' big sweep. Sweeps aren't easy. You never predict them, but the Phillies winning 5 of their first 6 puts them in a great spot in the very, very early part of their major league season for 2025. But the team being in a good spot doesn't mean every individual player is in a good spot. Coming up next, we are going to discuss who needs to heat up for the Philadelphia Phillies as they get ready to face the big bad Dodgers. Let's talk about Supply House first, though, because you got to get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Maybe you need help with an order. It happens every once in a while. Well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you're always going to talk to a real person. You're not just dealing with a machine or anything like that. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, they're free. 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 Cost nothing. Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM, T as in trade, M as in master, and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, make sure you use promo code SH5. That's S as in supply, H as in house, 5 as in the number, as in 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Go ahead and check our friends out. Speaking of checking our friends out, go to Just Ingredients for everything you need in the protein, electrolytes, pre-workout game. I mean, when it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game. They've got clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Let's think about it, right? It's important. You don't know how quickly you run into stuff that is not as good for you as it seems. There's a player for Atlanta that is currently on an 80-game suspension because he used something banned by baseball. Now, whether that was intentional or not, I can guarantee you 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who's partnered with Just Ingredients, ain't landing on that list anytime soon of banned substances because he trusts Just Ingredients and their NSF certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I trust it too. It's worked great for me. I'm going to be in great shape this summer because of it. And I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or maybe you need an energy boost, had a long day at work, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB and you'll get 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. All right, who needs to get hot for the Philadelphia Phillies? It's a tough question to ask about a team that's 5-1, that has been demolishing bullpens, that's been scoring a good amount of runs, that's been pitching the daylights out of the baseball, both starters and pen, even though Jose Alvarado last night, or yesterday afternoon rather, 1 o'clock game, got into a sticky situation in the 9th inning. got out of it only allowing 1 run. So it's solid work to battle by him. He's going to have good days. He's going to have bad days. That's Jose Alvarado. He's got great stuff. Just got to have the command, and he didn't have it yesterday, and he still battled through. So credit to Jose Alvarado. He is not on the list of who needs to heat up for the Phils because, frankly, I think the bullpen's been largely good this year. I haven't really seen anyone in the premier roles in the bullpen that's come out and then that guy's a major problem. There are questions, but no one's revealed themselves as like a problem guy yet for the Phillies bullpen, and it's early in the season, so you wouldn't expect them to. In the starting rotation, Wheeler, Walker, Suarez, well, he hasn't thrown yet, Sanchez, Luzardo, Nola. I mean, there's not very much to nitpick there with the guys that have thrown or the guys you expect to throw. If you're annoyed with the Aaron Nola start, first time doing the, I guess it's from Westworld, the James Franco meme, where he's looking over at the guy and he's like, first time. We've been through this before with Aaron Nola. Everybody calm down. All right. He's still a good pitcher. But the starting rotation, I can't really point out anybody. I can't. You expect great things from these guys. They have delivered great things so far, largely. They are 5-1. The bullpen, not really any nitpicking there as far as that's concerned. I think Matt Strahm could have a little bit better stuff, but he hasn't really gotten burned by anything recently. Like, he could play or pitch better than he's been pitching, but I'm not looking at him or really anyone in the bullpen as a problem guy. Jordan Romano has settled in nicely. I think Phillies fans are going to end up liking him. And I think you're going to get to a point this season where you're like, I can't believe we doubted this guy and said, wow, he stinks. We shouldn't have gotten him. If he's healthy, he's just got a weird leg kick and he looks kind of like a stoner a little bit. And I think people just look at him and they're like, this guy's not good because he had a rough first outing in Washington and they still won that game. But it's mainly the bats. I'm looking at a couple of guys that need to heat up. One of them first on my mind, Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott is a guy that is going to be a key to this lineup this year. I talked about it before the season. I'm going to talk about it now that we're 6 games into the season. He is one of the guys that you can count on to give you depth in the contact part of the lineup, right? He's a guy that down near the bottom of the lineup, and the bottom of the lineup's been very good for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's a guy that balances everything, right? When you look at the power hitters that the Phillies have, Harper, Schwarber, Kepler, Castellanos. I mean, these are all guys that you look at. I guess technically maybe Marsh is more power than contact, even though he hasn't really done both consistently in his time with the Phillies. Stott's one of the guys that you look at that says, okay, we need you to hit 280, my guy, because other guys are going to be hitting 250 with 25 bombs. We need balance in the lineup. Right now, so far, he's hitting 278, which is not bad. He hasn't been bad to start. 5 hits and 18 at-bats. He does have the 1 home run that snuck out of the corner against Washington. I just don't see him as comfortable in his approach yet at the plate as I'd like to see him. Not that strikeouts have been a huge issue for Bryson Stott so far this year, but I get the feeling he struck out 4 times in 18 at-bats. That's not ideal. I just think there's more in there. I think there's a better approach to come. And I think when you see Bryson Stott look comfortable, he's using the whole field. He's seemed more pull happy to start the year, which was something I think he got in trouble with last year a little bit as well. And you'll see him get to it. I don't have doubts on Bryson Stott. I would just like to see more from him. If you had asked me this question yesterday morning, I'd say JT Realmuto. He looked pretty darn good in the series ender against the Rockies. He was dealing with the foot thing in Washington after fouling the ball off his foot. So we'll see if he continues to stay hot against the Dodgers. Now that seems he's kind of gotten into the swing of things a little bit. He's batting 7th or 8th for me for the time being because he just hasn't really come out of the gates hot this year, even though he had a nice game yesterday and a double on Wednesday night. So JT needs to pick it up at the plate. Behind the dish, he's always awesome. And I'm, again, holding him to a high standard because he is that type of a player. The only other guy that I can really think of that I'm like, okay, this dude needs to pick it up. You could say Marsh for sure, but Marsh was one of those guys where we're in an experimental period with Brandon Marsh. They're going to let him play a good amount in center field as someone dropped something on the street out behind him. They're going to let him play out in center field pretty much daily. And I've said, I'm going to give him a month, right? And then if we look at it in a month and it's like, man, this experiment ain't working, Yohan Rojas, you're up, buddy, who's had a really nice start to the year. I'm also going to look at Trey Turner. I want to see a little bit more of the power stroke come back for Trey Turner. I want to see him try and lift the baseball a little bit. I know, speedy guy, top of the lineup or close to the top of the lineup, hit the ball on the ground, make them make mistakes. Colorado, they could not field a ball in the infield and throw somebody out yesterday. The Phillies had so many infield hits. So, case in point. But Trey's another one of those guys where he's given you an okay start to the year, but I expect greatness out of Trey Turner. I expect greatness out of JT Realmuto. I expect greatness for a young player out of Bryson Stott. And those are three guys that I think if they just notch it up a little bit, they're going to be great. But what's good for them is Kyle Schwarber's been a notch above what you expected. Max Kepler's probably been a notch above what you expected. Nick Castellanos has started off the season a notch above what he normally does. The bottom of the order, Edmundo Sosa, Rojas, those guys have stepped up big time for the team to start the year. Schwarber is one of the hottest hitters on the planet. And Edmundo Sosa, if you don't look at home run versus single, is probably right there with them. So again, this is nitpicking, but those are the players. Guys like Stott, Realmuto. I guess you could throw Marsh in there as well, but he's in a weird circumstance where you're testing things. And then Trey Turner are the guys that I'm looking at to say, okay, I'm watching you guys in this Dodgers series to try and level out the Phillies batting lineup, even though their order has been pretty damn productive to start the season. But speaking of those Dodgers, that's enough time beating around the bush. That's enough time reacting to what happened yesterday, taking stock of where we're at. We were all strapped up and ready for battle with a team that a lot of people are calling the best team in baseball, including tongue-in-cheek wise, some players on the Phillies. We're previewing what is one of the bigger series in baseball to this point in the season, maybe the biggest series in baseball so far this season, coming up next as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about game time, because there's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, especially when you've got Phillies, Dodgers happening in this city tonight and tomorrow and Sunday. Shohei Ohtani is going to be on the field. You are going to see the greatest player in the sport take on the second best team in the sport, in my opinion, in the Philadelphia Phillies, the defending World Series champions. Great pitching matchups, up and down, all-star lineup. This could be the all-star game. And people would not be like, yeah, a couple of those guys don't belong. No, these are awesome teams, and you can be there with game time. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the smell of the ballpark, food, it's all great. It all takes second fiddle to Phillies Dodgers, which is what you got here in this city this weekend. And if you're looking to go last minute, maybe you haven't made plans yet for the weekend, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. They got last minute deals, all in pricing, the lowest price guarantee, everything that makes sure you're getting the best ticket buying experience possible when you try and buy Major League Baseball tickets. There's a lot of great opportunities to do that. Now, it's not just baseball. It's all sports like hockey, football, basketball, hockey and basketball still going on right now. Comedy, concerts, theater, Game Time does it all. So maybe you're more of I'm busy this week, but I want to take my kids to, a comedy show coming up later next week. You can do all of that with Game Time. They got great ways to get you in the building for the best price, best seats, and you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with Game Time. God, Phillies Dodgers, what a delight we have in the city of Philadelphia tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. Now, first, before everybody freaks out about the TV broadcast tonight, yes, they are on Apple TV for tonight. The other two games will be locally broadcast. If you don't have Apple TV at this point, I don't know what to tell you. I don't make the schedule. Don't come after me. Figure out a way to watch it. Get to a bar that has it. Get down to the ballpark with our friends over at Game Time. This is must-watch sports, not just baseball. Must-watch sports. Phillies, Dodgers, this could be an NLCS preview. And, man, even if it's not, right, that's a long way away. This is still an awesome, awesome series this early in the year. You're going to get great pitching matchups. Today, you got Jesus Luzardo facing off against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. You got Sasaki throwing. You got Glasnow throwing. You got Nola throwing. You got Oh, my goodness, Christopher Sanchez throwing. You've got some Cy Young caliber arms. You've got great lineups. This is what we watch these sports for matchups like this. Now, remember, it's only April 4th right now as I record this episode for you. So this series is not one that says, well, the Phillies can or cannot compete with the Los Angeles Dodgers on a playoff level. The Phillies have had plenty of playoff success. They've also had playoff choke jobs. The Dodgers have had plenty of playoff success. They've also had playoff choke jobs. These teams are more similar than they are dissimilar. The only main difference, two differences is, the Dodgers have the ring, and the Dodgers also have that Shohei Ohtani guy who's pretty damn good. That's going to be very, very cool to watch. But it's an awesome measuring stick game. Now, what does a measuring stick, or series, I should say, what does a measuring stick series look like in April? Well, what it says is, okay, these teams are what we thought they were, competitive to each other, playing on the same tier level this early in the season. The Phillies can compete in this league. JT Realmuto was talking about the matchup with the Dodgers, and he tongue-in-cheek said, oh, well, they're unbeatable, right? Obviously making fun of the narrative surrounding them, but nobody's beaten the Dodgers yet. They're 8-0. So we can laugh. I don't think they're undefeated coming out of this series. I do think the Phillies take at least one game. I will tell you, I'm a little worried about this series, though, for your fighting Phils. I don't think they win this series. I think this is 2-1 in favor of the Los Angeles Dodgers is what we're going to see, because the Phillies, if they have a early season Achilles heel, it's the inability to hit starting pitching. You saw it again yesterday in the series finale against the Rockies. Antonio Senzatela was pretty darn good for Colorado, and he should not have been. But the Phillies just couldn't cash in certain spots. And that works against Colorado and Washington. It does not play against Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. It doesn't. So we'll see if the Phillies can get going early against the Dodgers. It will be much easier for guys like Luzardo, who'll be making his first home start. Christopher Sanchez, who's still a guy coming into his own as like this star in Major League Baseball, this budding star. And we know Nola can blow up in a moment's notice if things don't go right for him. And I'm not taking an unnecessary shot there, but like it's much easier for these guys to pitch from ahead than it would be to be like, we got down early. And same thing for the hitters facing against some great pitchers for the Dodgers. I'm very intrigued to see what Jesus Luzardo does against the Dodgers. I don't really care what Aaron Nola does against the Dodgers because, I've seen this guy against everybody. He's been around forever. We know who Aaron Nola is at this point. I'm more intrigued in the Sanchez game and the Luzardo game. I'm going to be watching all of them because it's awesome baseball. And obviously, I watch every game forever because of what I do for a living. But my biggest concern for this series is just going to be the Phillies' ability to get to, or inability to get to, the Dodgers starting pitching. They struggled against some subpar arms to start games. And the Dodgers ain't bringing no subpar arms into Citizens Bank Park. As far as the Phillies pitchers' ability to shut down the Dodgers offense, that's not as much of a concern for me, right? The Phillies pitching staff has been about as good as you could have hoped they would be through 6 games. Now, the Dodgers lineup is a different beast. Guys like Mookie Betts and Ohtani and every other guy that just name the all-star team and you're naming Dodgers. Keep an eye on everybody in that lineup because there's no rest. If there's a place where you feel most comfortable, it should be that Phillies pitchers should not just be demolished by Dodgers hitting. But I think there is a chance, a logical chance, that the Phillies hitting could be overmatched against some of these starters. And if you get into a situation where you're down 2-0 and into the 7th or 8th against the Dodgers, it's going to be a lot harder to come back from that than it was against the Rockies or Nationals, teams you played so far this year. So when we come out of this series, we're going to know not whether or not the Phillies can beat the Dodgers in October, not whether or not either of these teams are winning the World Series. We're going to know just basically, are they competitive with one another? The Dodgers expect to be, the Phillies hope to be. And if you do somehow win the series, how awesome is that going to be? This fan base is going to go wild. I know what's happening right now, right? I know because I'm inside your head a little bit. It's my job, right? I got to know how the fan base thinks. The Sharks are circling. There's a lot of Phillies naysayers waiting to see this series to say, hey, Phils look awesome against the Nationals and Rockies, but look what happens when they play a real team. But the greatest way to counter those people that want to say, hey, see, when they play a good team, when they play good pitching, they're not able to create offense or win when it counts. If they do, that'll silence those folks up real quick. And God, I hope they're silenced on Monday. I don't see it. I think the Phillies do lose this series, but I don't think they get smoked in any game. And I do think we come out of it saying, okay, that's our first look at where this team is compared to the odds-on best team in baseball. I think we come out feeling good regardless of the result, because we'll be able to see a lot of positive things this weekend from the Phillies, even if they have trouble beating the undefeated juggernaut best team in baseball, Dodgers. Who knows, though? You got a really, really good team here. The best team in baseball versus the second best team in baseball, Citizens Bank Park this weekend. It's going to be awesome. We're going to break down everything that happens on Monday on our next episode of Locked On Phillies. But that's all for what's been a great week for the Fightin' Phils, an undefeated week so far for the Fightin' Phils. Thank you so much for joining us. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube. And I will talk to you on Monday to react to Phils Dodgers on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.